And the first one, number one, is in the name of Deputy Mayor Butler to discuss the runway extension at Waterford Airport. The Deputy has 4 minutes to make an initial statement.
Minister Ross, thank you very much for taking this topical issue. Minister, Waterford Airport has been without any commercial flights since mid-2016, and I know you're very familiar with this. The lack of international and currently national connections is a huge challenge. Extending the runway is crucial for the viability of Waterford Airport in the long term, and is crucial to any commercial future at the airport. Right now, Waterford's runway is only capable of handling smaller turboprop aircraft that are diminishing in numbers and struggling to retain their place in a highly competitive marketplace. The airport's board say a longer, wider runway would allow the hub to cater for more commonly used machines like the Boeing 737 favoured by Ryanair and the Airbus A320, the most common plane in the Aer Lingus fleet. The future of Waterford Airport has been hanging in the balance since June 2016, when the Belgian parent of airline VLM went bankrupt, bringing an abrupt end to its only scheduled services to London Luton. The airport currently hosts a Coast Guard helicopter and is available for use by private jets. The development of the runway extension at Waterford Airport is key to the region so that viable routes can be explored. I accept the aviation industry is extremely tough, and the airport has seen its fair share of setbacks in recent years. However, the delivery of funding to pay for the extension of the runway to allow larger aircraft use the airport, offering longer distance services to mainland Europe, would ensure the future of the airport and secure the many local jobs that are dependent on the airport being fully operational. The North Quays in Waterford is the site of a proposed €350 million regeneration project that will be what only can be described as a game changer for Waterford. The South East needs a regional city of consequence, and I believe that city must be Waterford. A viable working airport is crucial, I believe, to strengthen the city and the region. For Waterford to act as a release valve for the overcrowding in Dublin, and it could act as a counterbalance to Dublin in terms of overheating, rehousing, transport congestion and education. And Minister Ross, I would like to acknowledge here today, on foot of requests made by the airport and by your colleague, Minister Halligan, and to ensure that there was no disruption to the Coast Guard's search and rescue service, you sanctioned the provision of €750,000 in grant funding to the airport last year. 2 payments of €375,000 were made to the airport in January and December. These were exceptional measures and were provided to allow time for appropriate consideration of these issues arising at Waterford Airport. Minister, in reply to a PQ last October, I welcomed your reply that you had brought to Cabinet an independent report on the extension of Waterford Airport runway. This, I believe, was a very positive move. I am also pleased that the submission from Waterford Airport, Waterford City and County Council and local private investors were included in the review by Ernst & Young, commissioned by you. A planning application has been made for an extension to the runway at Waterford Airport. The current length of 1,400 metres would be extended to 2,200 and it would be widened from 30 to 45 metres. Minister, I believe this runway extension is vital to secure the future of Waterford Airport.
Thank you, Deputy. And Hara.
Thank you very much indeed, Jan Cola, and I'd like to thank the Deputy for raising this issue, which is a very important one, and I appreciate the importance of it to the South East and to all the public representatives there and the people there and the energy that Waterford Airport, if it was a working project and a successful project, could inject into that region. Before I update the House, I think it might be useful to provide some background information on the issue. Many deputies here today will be familiar with Waterford Airport, which has been operating in the southeast of the country since the mid-1980s. While passenger numbers reached a peak of more than 140,000 in 2008, there was a steady decline in numbers thereafter, with less than 35,000 travelling through the airport in 2015. In fact, since June 2016, as the Deputy referenced, no scheduled air services have operated at Waterford Airport. In terms of Exchequer support, no capital funding grants have been provided to the airport since that time, and grant aid towards operational funding ceased from 2017. This is because the schemes operated under the Regional Airports Programme relate to the provision of scheduled air services. Unfortunately, despite their best efforts and numerous attempts, the airport has not been able to secure new scheduled air services since the last operator ceased services in 2016. This has, as you would expect, given rise to financial challenges at the airport. On foot of these challenges, the airport submitted requests to my department for a minimal level of subvention, which would allow the airport to continue its operations in 2018 as it considered its future. So, after informing government of the situation, I made a decision to provide $375,000 to the airport in January 2018, with a further payment of $375,000 in December last, which is the $750,000 to which the Deputy referred. These payments were justified. They were an exceptional measure and were made to ensure that there would be no disruption to the search and rescue service that operates from there. They were also provided to allow time for a full and extensive consideration of future options for Waterford Airport. In respect of that consideration and the detailed analysis that would be required, the Department procured the services of independent consultants Ernst & Young in early 2018. During the course of this analysis, Waterford Airport submitted a proposal to my Department for Exchequer support in respect of a project to expand the runway at the airport to accommodate large commercial passenger jets. The airport is also intending to raise money from 3 local authorities, Waterford, Kilkenny and Wexford, and from private investors. Ernst & Young were asked to assess this proposal as part of their review. The airport contends that the failure to maintain passenger services is embedded in the limitations of its runway, in particular its length, which cannot handle larger jet aircraft. Following completion of the Ernst & Young review, my department sought additional information from the airport in relation to private investor commitment, interest from jet carriers and the future ownership and shareholding position of the airport company. Then, in October last, I brought the matter to government for the purposes of updating my cabinet colleagues, and also to inform them of my intention to provide a copy of the Ernst & Young report to the board of Waterford Airport. The airport was invited to respond to Ernst & Young's findings and to provide any additional information that might strengthen its position in relation to the runway proposal. That response, received from the airport last week, is currently being reviewed by my department and will be assessed against national aviation and transport policy objectives, as well as broader government policies such as Project Ireland 2040 and the National Planning Framework. Once I have fully considered the matter, it's my intention to revert to government for a decision in the coming weeks.
Thank you, Minister.
Minister, thank you for your comprehensive reply. Funding will be required from the state, local government and private investors. But I believe a positive response from the government, and indeed yourself, Minister Ross, will spur on other interested parties, ensure that the developments needed are delivered. Minister, it is imperative that the support from the government for the extension is delivered. I believe if the government could commit to the $5 million requested, that there would be matched funding from private investors of $5 million and match funding from the 3 local authorities, Waterford, Kilkenny and Wexford, of the further $3 million. I welcome the last paragraph of your reply when you stated that you received a response from the airport last week and is currently being reviewed by your department and will be assessed against national aviation and transport policy objectives as well as broader government policies. And I hope we will have a timely reply in relation to that. But Minister, just to reiterate again some of the comments I made earlier, the development of this runway for the airport is absolutely essential, it's absolutely imperative. Waterford City is on the cusp of a wave at the moment. There are huge opportunities in Waterford to make Waterford the capital city of the South East. And there is no doubt about it that if we had the ability for the airport to access this runway, we would end up with a range of additional businesses, opportunities, and I believe it would reduce its dependency on government support in the long run, and it would enhance its potential to attract additional investment and employment opportunities to the area. So, Minister, I will welcome your decision as soon as possible for the airport at Waterford.
I just respond to the Deputy by saying, obviously, it would be everybody's wish that Waterford Airport was a functioning commercial and vibrant airport, and that would be our objective. We have to take a lot of things into account when making a decision on this, and we have to take the long term into account, not just the short term. And we have to look at government regional policy and decide on that basis whether investment is worthwhile or not. We should also have to take into account this somewhat unique situation where there are private investors and county councils, obviously volunteering to produce money to put into an airport of that size, and to take risk with their investment. And to take into account the fact that the county councils obviously have great faith in the benefit that this would bring to the region. But we can't take a decision which isn't prudent, and we can't take a decision which is not going to, in the considered view of independent reviews and ourselves and of experts, is not going to offer benefit to the region and should not be in any way a white elephant. So it's something which we have pondered for a long time and which we've shown our good faith in by giving 375,000 twice, because we don't want to close the airport and we want to give it every chance to succeed. But we will take a decision on a very sensible and prudent basis in the coming weeks.